Hey, it's Joe Crump. This video is going to show you how to outsource 90% of the work you can't automate and make 10 times as much money. The reason I built the Automarketer was because I wanted to do less work and I wanted it to automate as much of it as I can. And there are some things that you cannot automate and you're going to have to outsource it. But you don't have to do it yourself. So that's the thing. So automate as much as you can, outsource what you can't automate, and then eliminate everything else. Once you set up the Automarketer, there's not much you have to do to keep it running. It will just continue to run without you. As long as you turn it on and as long as you tell it to, it'll run it every day or every 2 days or every 5 days, all the way up to every 14 days. You can turn it on and off at will, but if you leave it on, it'll just keep bringing you in leads during that time. So now you have to do something with the leads that come in. And what you want to do is hire some people to help you. So the team management program in this software allows you to add people to your team. I can add as many team members as I want. And I can assign them numbers within the phone system. And I'm going to show you how the phone system works in a minute, because that is key to making this team system work. But if I want to add a new team member, it's going to ask me for their information. I'm going to give them a username and password that is unique to them, so that if I want them out of the system, I can deactivate them. I can create them, make them inactive, or I can delete them, and they won't be able to access it. They won't be able to access through their username and password until I make them active. So I can also assign phone numbers to them, depending on how many numbers that I've got. And I can get as many numbers as I want in the phone system over here, which I'll show you in a little bit. Also, you're going to have their information, their contact information, their address, and their email address, and any information that they have about social media. And you can keep track of it. If they're agents, you can keep their license number here as well, too. And then once you create that, it's going to actually send them an email and let them know what their password is and how to log in. Now, once I have them in the system, I can assign them leads. So either you or your admin person can go into the lead, into the full lead, and then you can assign this lead to a particular team member that you want. Once you assign that lead, then they'll have that on their list to do. You can then go back to the lead dashboard and look up just that team member's assigned leads, and then they can work on their particular leads. So the goal is to ultimately have somebody else doing all the work for you, but you need to get them in a measured way. And what I suggest is that you first get an admin person, maybe somebody you're going to pay $8 an hour, that they just need to get into the system and make sure that the leads are assigned to the right people, make sure the leads are being followed up on, make sure that everything's working properly, and pay them maybe $8 an hour, go on to Upwork's $8, $10, $12 an hour. This is probably the lower paid person, someone who doesn't take a lot of skill. They can learn how to do this using the tutorials in the system. So it's not difficult to train them. The next person you'd probably hire is boots on the ground. If you're working remotely in an area, you're going to need somebody who's going to work in that area, who can drive by, put a sign in the yard, take pictures of the property, and send you that stuff and give it to the admin person. They're going to put it into your leads. They're going to put it onto your listing site. They're going to send a broadcast message to your buyers. And then you're also going to have a buyer finder. And instead of hiring a realtor to do this work for you, or you doing the work for you, hire a buyer finder. Maybe you pay them $15 an hour because they're a little bit higher level of skill. They need to talk to the sellers. They need to follow up with them. They're not going to show them the properties, but they're going to actually take the calls. They're going to call these people back. They're going to qualify the buyers, and they're going to get them into the houses by giving them the lockbox of the house so that they can go in and see it. Only do this with unoccupied properties, vacant properties, and make sure you get maybe a copy of their driver's license or something before you give them the code to get into the house. We've never had a property damaged this way. Doesn't mean that won't happen in the future, but that's what the seller has insurance for. So hopefully you won't have any problem with vandalism. We never have. It is a concern of some people. The exciting part of a buyer finder is the cost. It's so much cheaper. If you had to hire a realtor to do this work for you, they would typically charge you 1 month's rent in order to fill a property. So let's say the property has a $1,200 a month rent on it. It's a $150,000 property. And they find you a buyer, you get $5,000 for the down payment, and they get $1,200 of that. If you have a buyer finder doing it and you're paying them $15 an hour, typically it wouldn't take them more than 5 or 10 hours to sell that property. So if it takes them 10 hours to sell the property, you've got $150 into the sale of that property rather than $1,200 into the sale of that property, almost 10 times less to hire somebody hourly to do it. And you're going to find that across the board. If you're paying somebody hourly, it's going to make sense to do that. Now, don't start hiring a lot of hourly people until you're making money, until you're doing deals. Give yourself time to learn how to make the deals first and do everything yourself at the beginning so that when it's time to train somebody to do it, you're able to do it and you're competent to be able to train them, and you can use their time most wisely. And then lastly, you're going to hire someone to be your seller finder, someone to put the deals together. That's the thing that you outsource last because that's the hardest thing to teach. And we do it in a two-step process. I'm going to show you a little bit more how that works later because each one of these leads, there's a questionnaire that you can open up and you can ask questions and you can have your seller finder ask those questions. Let me just go to it real quick. I'm going to talk about it in a different video, but I want to show you here. If I want to add a property, I find out they've got a property, I can just give it a name, and it's going to open up the lead questionnaire. And all you have to do is have your seller finder follow the script. Ask the information about the property, type in the information of the property. When you verify this property, it'll actually make it possible for you to find it on Google Maps and find it in Zillow, find it on Rentometer, and you can work with it. And you can ask these questions about the mortgages and when they're moving and how soon they're going to move, and be able to schedule an appointment with the person who's going to close the deal, which is probably going to be you at the beginning and eventually is going to be somebody that you've trained to do it. Once you have these tasks outsourced, you don't really have to do much at all other than watch the system happen and step in wherever it's necessary to finalize a deal or make sure problems are solved and make sure that everything's running. The goal with any type of outsourcing is to make sure that one job is dependent upon another job, and that job is dependent on another job. So there's always this daisy chain of if one person drops the ball, everybody else knows that they dropped the ball, and it'll become evident very quickly. Sometimes people hire one person to do all the work, and then when something starts to fall apart or they don't get certain jobs done, you don't find out about it for days, weeks, maybe even months before you find out, hey, this person hasn't been doing that particular part of the job. But if you break the job up into multiple parts, first, it's easier to replace those people. You can pay them different amounts because some of the jobs require more skill than others, and you can have them keep an eye on each other, and they'll support each other. It won't be like a competition, but I'll tell you, people are pretty willing to catch somebody else's mistakes and let you know about it, and at least let them know about it. And they usually, I just have them CC me on any questions that they have with each other, so I can see the communication that's going on between them. And I don't have to talk to them. I just have it CC'd on me so that I can see what's going on with it. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I'm sure I've got a lot more to tell you about it later.